Hi, I just wanted to let you know that I've written one book on Amazon Kindle, which is Life, Love, Murder and Medicine. And the subtitle is In 21st Century London Muslims. And that's a Kindle download. But the other book that I'm working on at the moment is Murder in Medicine. And the author name is Fifi French. And that's the name of my Facebook page as well. Okay. All the best.
Are we going that way? Exit. Way out. That was Fifi French that I just met on the way down to the onto the meetup. By the way, I'm pushing it for time now, but look, there's been delays, so please don't blame me. It's the London system, the London network. So it's taking like over an hour and a half to get here. What's happening? Yes. Cool guys. So this is the format. All I'm going to do is just, it's very informal, nothing's really been structured. All I'm going to do is talk a tiny little bit about myself, then get you guys to introduce yourselves, what your goals are, like, you know, props are laid and whatnot, and then take it from there. How does that sound? This isn't the only thing I'm doing today. So I had other reasons to be in London. I thought it was a good opportunity. I get a lot of people messaging me. Some of you probably messaged me. I recognise a bunch of your faces from your Instagrams. So a bunch of you have messaged me asking for advice or like whatever suggestions, and to meet up. I'm gonna put it out on Instagram to if anyone's interested in a meetup, so I can meet a bunch of people in one go. It was like 150, 200 people said yes. So then I said, all right, let's run an event for just 30 people, so then we can do this. Because if there's 100 people in the room, it's going to get ridiculous. So my aim is nothing that you want to meet me. I can either say piss off, or I can meet you and like make it easier for me. This is like, I don't know, 10, 15 if you're here. This is 10, 15 separate meetings, isn't it? Or we can do it this way. So I suppose I'm being nice. So obviously I'm Anthony Laville. I started off back in 2010 doing lettings and management at university. So I was a student, and I went on a viewing with a landlord, and speaking to that landlord, I found out that she had other properties to let, and I thought to myself, hang on, I know students, I can get students for you, and maybe I can charge you a fee. So later on that day I sent her a text message and I said, look, this is what I can do for you, I can charge you a fee to get tenants and blah blah blah. She was happy. And I started calling other landlords and doing the same thing, and it kind of grew from there. By the time I graduated, I thought to myself, let me try this full time before I go and get a graduate job or commit to any financial commitments and do anything financially strenuous that's going to sort of potentially hinder me later on from progressing and taking on risks like starting a business. And then that grew into doing lettings and management, so we let thousands of beds for providers like Unite, Mansion, Victoria Hall, if you've heard of them. So we've let thousands of beds for them over the years. We've managed tons of HMOs, houses, house shares, students, professionals, so I've done a breadth of all those types of lettings and management and that side of things. And then went on to do rent to rent, leasing, that sort of thing. Then I went on to buying properties and renting them out. Then as of 2017, I started working on bigger deals, so these are some of the ones that you may have seen me post. So they're ranging from 6-7 million up to 20+ million pound projects. So basically it's a mixture of purpose-built student accommodation, co-living. Have you guys heard of co-living? So co-living is a form of accommodation which promotes community and cohesion, if you like. So think of your average professional living in somewhere like here, London, or living in Birmingham. If they're not going to rent their own apartment somewhere, then there's a high likelihood they're going to go rent a house share or a HMO. So what co-living does, it takes those, for instance in that demographic, puts them into a large apartment complex where they can live in a cluster apartment or a shared apartment, or take their own self-contained studio, and rent that, but there's vast communal space, so it's something like this, downstairs or on the ground floor, wherever that's located in the building. There's an opportunity to network, go to community events, and what you're doing is you're saving that professional money from what they'd pay ordinarily for renting their own, self-contained apartment. London, somewhere central, what's a one-bed apartment going to cost a month? 1,600. So something like co-living, you could probably get that down for a room to £900. So you've got the flexibility of having your own privacy in your own bathroom, and then you can also mix that with being able to mix with others in the communal spaces and the kitchens. So the kind of schemes I'm working on. What I'm going to do now is, if you guys, I'm just going to go around, if you guys introduce yourselves, name what you do and what your plans are for property wise, and obviously I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why you came, because you're interested in, correct me if I'm wrong, getting into property yourselves, or if you're not, if you're in it already, maybe ramping up what you're doing as a guest. So we'll start with you.
Am I doing the work? No, I had to find like contractors, different contractors.
How did you find that?
How did I find them?
How did you find the process?
Oh man, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, because at the same time you've got to like project manage like a plumber, electrician.
Oh, so you're doing the trade separately?
Yeah.
So you're bringing in the trade separately?
Yeah. So I'm bringing it in. So basically, like I had an electrician, and he had some problems. I don't know. I think he was a bit of an alcoholic, to be honest. Because sometimes when I meet him in the mornings, seriously, when I meet him in the mornings, like I smell alcohol in his breath at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, whoa. And then like 2 weeks later, like I think he had a baby. I don't know if his wife was suffering postnatal depression. He just went AWOL. So it's a good job that I didn't pay him up front. I've already made back my money anyway. As soon as I'd done the deal, I was like, I'm going to make back my money. So I could either remortgage it, because when I got the surveyor to come, it was actually valued higher than what I paid for it, because I obviously didn't put no deposit down. So I already knew I made my money back on it. And yeah, so I just said, you know what, why not let me go for it? Like, I'll go and then once I go for it, 6 months later, I got to wait before I can apply for another mortgage, and then I'm going to target Leeds. But I feel like Leeds now, I don't know, because I was thinking about it last year, maybe a year and a half ago. I feel like a lot of people are going for Leeds now, so I was kind of looking at Burnley. So,
where are you based in London?
yeah, I live in London.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But there's always opportunities in market.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Even when there's loads of competition. I'm doing deals in Birmingham right on people's doors.
Yeah, of course.
I don't like it.
Like originally, like
honestly, if I tell you guys some of the stories of like how people are trying to screw me.
Yeah,
agents and stuff. But I mean, because I'm in their patch.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to work with agents. I'm trying to go direct, because
Yeah.
it's quicker, you get better deals.
Exactly.
There's less like third parties involved and stuff.
Yeah.
So like if you've got an area and you think it's good, like don't.
Yeah.
It's just working harder to find.
Yeah. So with this now, so like in London, like the yields that you get back in London are like they're crap.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? But when I worked it out with this, the yield that I'm getting back is like 5.8%, which is really good for a London property. Like you're not going to get that in London, like realistically. So that's why I went for it.
It's possible if you find a great deal. It's just not as easy, because everyone in London.
Exactly, because the price is so high, right? Yeah, because the price of the properties in London is so high, the rents are also high as well. So the cash flow that you're going to make is not really a lot, unless, like you said, you really find that really good deal, which I found, and that's the reason why I went for it. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been my plan.
So where did you start to learn about? Because obviously,
just reading books, man.
Okay,
like,
cool.
So like, I signed up to a Property Hub. So I read like Property Investors.
What's that?
Property Hub is like there's two guys called Rob Dix. No, is it Rob Dix? Yeah,
Rob Dix.
Yeah, Rob Dix and Mark something. I can't remember his last name. Sorry, but like I listen to their podcast every Thursday. And also they've done books. So Property Investors for Beginners, How to Be a Landlord, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think probably everyone here has probably read it as well, and Property Secrets, and Samuel Leeds, Buy Low, Rent High.
Yeah, I've seen.
So yeah, when I read that book, it was quite a short book, and so it keeps you engaged quite quickly, like quite a lot. So when I stay engaged with it, I'm like, right, hold on, is it that easy to just buy like a property for so cheap, but rent it out for like a amount of money that you're gonna still make a profit? And it is, you find the property that is cheap, because rents stay the same. Even if you buy a property for like £80,000 or 90 grand, you still can charge like about £600, £650 rent. So when you weigh it up against your mortgage, you're actually still making more of a profit.
Cool. So what you're describing there is sort of what I do. So I leverage other people's, or I try to leverage other people's experiences and skills, and I bring it into what I'm doing, and then I'm able to go and get the big finance, go and do bigger deals and that sort of thing. So 100%. And then where you said, oh, and then do it by myself, that's the same thing that I plan to do in a few years. And instead of having joint venture partners that come in, put money in and take a share of it, what it's eventually going to be is they come in and all they're getting is a return on their money. They're not going to get a share of my deal, I'm going to have 100%. But you've got to build yourself to that stage, so that's what I'm doing. But to do that on a 20, 30 million pound deal is not as easy, so you've got to build your way up, so that's where I'm at. I'm transitioning to that point I'm trying to get to that point where, that you're mentioning. So.
Came across Anthony on YouTube.
Right,
And
cool.
I thought, okay, this guy clearly knows what
Someone's
he's doing.
watching it then.
Absolutely. I'm that guy that's commenting like, okay, I like your swag.
Yeah.
That's me. So I'm an independent business consultant. So a day job is I work with small and medium companies, helping them grow, develop. I've done an MBA in strategic management. So I understand business. Property is something that I've always kind of been a part of, family, etc. So we recently bought, in the process of buying our second one now in Nottingham. Essentially, I'm a big thinker, and I'm thinking all that graft for that one property had a nice bit of profit, don't get me wrong. I'm thinking, what can I do now from a strategic point of view to kind of scale it up? I can't paint, I can't hang a coat hanger. So along the journey, I've managed to galvanize a team of construction teams close to where I'm based. And essentially, I'm just here today just to understand your journey, essentially, and how you got to where you are now.
And I don't come from money. My mum didn't even own a house. She didn't even own a house. She does now with my house. She owns properties. But I've come from. I don't like to say when people come from the dirt and all that, but I don't come from money. I don't come from anything. So if I'm able to leverage, and a lot of people say this, but it's so true. If I can leverage off other people's money and skills and experience, then you guys, I don't know if you look, some of you might look at my deals and think they're big deals, some of you might look at it and go, alright, that's okay, but each one of you could and should be doing bigger deals. We should be in competition. If I'm doing a 20 million pound deals, why aren't you guys doing 30, 40? It's the same principles, and it's as you said, the same work involved for that house is the same work involved for, trust me, it's involved for, when I go to negotiate with an owner and I say, look, your piece of land there, I'll offer you £1 million if I get planning permission. And you go to an owner and say, I'll offer you 100 grand for your house. It's the same consideration. They've got to speak to the wife, or the wife's got to speak to the husband. They're thinking about it. They're retiring. They're not sure if they want. It's the same consideration. It's the same. It's just different digits, but it's the same thing involved. Someone's got to think about it, then it's got to go to solicitors, there's back and forth. It's exactly the same work. Exactly the same work involved. So yeah, 100%. I walk for deals. My deals are slightly different to doing houses. It's a bit easier for me because I can walk past a commercial building. If I see a building that's a bit run down, it doesn't even have to be run down. If it's in a strategic location, then I can approach the owner. So I literally walk around. I go to an area that I like and a patch, and I learn everything about that patch. I learn every property. Last month I probably said, I've got an assistant, she probably sent out 200 letters last month to potential owners, and you have to consistently mail these owners over the course of however long it takes. It might take years. You consistently mail them, contact them, call them. As soon as you get their number, then you consistently call them and follow up, and then you get a deal. It can take a very long time. It can take 2 years to get a deal. And it's the same consideration as doing a small deal. It might take you 6 months to get the house deal done. It can take me 6 months to get a bigger deal done. So the main way is I literally sometimes drive, but walking is the best because it's just, I don't know what it is, can't see the same driving as when you're walking. And not just that, you notice other properties. For some reason you walk past this road, you guys must have seen it plenty of times, driven past somewhere, you walk past somewhere multiple times, and then you see a property that looks run down, you're thinking, hold on, I've been past here for years. It's the same thing, but once you dominate that patch and you learn about it, then you get good at finding deals. So walk for deals, and then referrals. People send me deals, sources. There's a software I use actually called Land Insight that helps. It doesn't really help me find deals, but it helps me analyse them. But people have found deals on Land Insight. So software you can use, you go on there, you look at land and sites, it can tell you the size of the site, what it's sold for. It's pretty good. So I parked my car in my patch. This is in 2017. These deals take forever, I'm telling you, so you've got to start now. Don't worry about not being able to do. Parked my car up, walked in my patch, saw a building, I thought, ooh, that would be good. It's a good site for student accommodation. If I get planning permission, which is next week, the decision on Thursday, fingers crossed. You know I'm going to post about it if I get it. If not, I might be a bit silent now. I'll post about it anyway, even if I don't get it. You've got to post it. That will be worth probably grand once I get planning permission. Just with planning. Just with planning.
Just the land.
Just the land. And that's not even a big deal. That's not a big deal. So, planning permission costs for that, I think it's cost about grand for that. And I found it by walking, and I didn't even speak to the owner. So don't listen to all this BS that people, all this spiel about how you need to do. There's no rules. Yeah, there's no rules to it. You do it however it's done. If you want to give a consideration, if you want to give your shoe as a consideration because he likes your shoes, you give your shoe as a consideration. Don't. So street, right? Next door to street is another property. So we were emailing sending letters to the owner. Couldn't find. I called up the office a few times and he was never in. He's semi-retired. He was never in, so I sent a letter to his house. Again, his details were on company's house. Unfortunately, his home address was listed on company's house as the director's address. And sent me a letter. He called back. I called him and said, look, we're doing a deal on your site next door. And he's like, yeah, I know, I've got the planning application. So that added credibility. You could see I'd already put a planning application and it was in the works. When I called him up, he said to me, someone's already offered me money for this, for my property. So I'm considering it, but they're taking a bit long to do the deal. And I said, oh, I can do a deal today. If you want to do a deal today, let's do it. Let's do it today. Bit of back and forth, didn't happen that day. It's never going to happen that day because it's got to go through solicitors. You got to do it for me. Don't ever cut a deal with an option agreement without solicitors. That's suicide, especially if you're paying for planning fees and the rest of it, because planning is not cheap. Bit of back and forth, that probably took, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I offered him, for the option fee, I offered at first, he was okay with it. Then he was getting a bit nervous and said, no, I'm not sure about this because I'm going to incur solicitor fees. I said, oh, I'll check you. That's more than enough to cover your solicitor fees. He was happy with it. And it was grand purchase price. The other person I offered him was grand up front for the option fee. Purchase price. But they were taking too long. And I came in and swooped that up. This is what I mean. And that site, with my other site, is potentially up to 200 beds. What I've described there is not out of the reach of you guys. There's no way you guys cannot do it. There is no way in hell you can't do it. If you think you can't do it, then you've just got a mental block.
Yeah, man. It was really good, you know. Really interesting, learning a lot of stuff.
When we're asking questions, he's being open and honest and he's being straight to the point about it.
Very informative session, of course. It's just great to get that really base level understanding before getting started off. Definitely going to let Anthony know how I get on. Really just mind blowing, really, honestly. Great stuff.
It's good that he can give away such a breadth of information for free. Certainly put a price tag on the knowledge that he shared with us today.
Definitely want to do it again. Thank you for everything. It's for adding value.
Serious guy, clearly knows what he's doing, professional in all his approach. Come away, kind of learning quite a few bits. So yeah, highly recommend him.
Not paying out for that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It was a good night, good experience. Hopefully we'll do it again. We came all the way from Dublin.
Hi, so back in Birmingham now. It's been a nice long day in London. I've met some great people. So the guys that turned out, it was all guys, they're all young. It's really good to see the people that turned out because it's just interesting. Some of them are in really good careers and fields, working for some big companies. And it's like a lot of people are just striving for this independence and a way to earn money that's not directly related to you physically doing work. So outside of that, which can be done through property, you might want to call it passive income, whatever you call it, that's what people are into. So it's interesting. So the people that didn't come when they booked in, not sure why you did that, but next time if you can't make it, I'd appreciate it if you just sent an email or deregistered from the event so other people can come along, because I had a waiting list. It's a shame actually that more people couldn't make it. I mean, look, it didn't detract from the event because it was a great event, but that would have been nice. So look, you feel free to come again to the next event, but if you can't make it, just have a bit of courtesy. I'm taking out my time to try and give feedback and try and give value for people. Free, I don't teach, I don't run courses. This is just me being nice. People reaching out to me, wanting to meet, so I'm happy to lend a hand where I can. It's all just part of being nice and human nature. But just please let me know if you can't come. And on that note,